Looking for these better days.
It is Tuesday, October 14th. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's what you need to know to make today a better day. It was a Monday night for the Dogs as primetime Dogs continue to cash in the NFL. The Falcons a 24-14 upset win over the Buffalo Bills, and the Bears get a last-second field goal. I almost said Eddie Pinheiro, but that was the old Bears kicker. It was Jake Moody, the former Niners kicker, getting the 25-24 win over the Commanders. Mackenzie Rivers with me here on this episode of Better Day, presented by FanDuel. And Mac, which of the results do you want to talk about first? Because they both kind of, I don't want to say burned us. Like, we did maybe think about putting them in the same game parlay from last night, which we actually came close on a lot of these props. We'll talk about that in a moment. But which result to you was more eye-opening?
You got to start with the Bills. I mean, this team hadn't really been challenged before last week, and there was freaking coronation of Josh Allen and McDermott, and they were going to steamroll and win their millionth AFC East in a row, and maybe Drake May one day could be Josh Allen, but no one's Josh Allen because he's the MVP, and oh man, it's the greatest thing I've ever seen. That was Sunday Night Football, and they lost. Threw some picks he shouldn't have in the red zone, whatever. And this game, he had his worst game of the season last week. By far worse this week. Josh Allen no longer the MVP favorite. The Bills hanging on as Super Bowl favorites. The Chiefs right behind him. But now Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes, which nobody's talking about, is plus 185. Josh Allen 3-1. Baker Mayfield plus 350. I think we don't know much when it comes to the NFL because I thought the Bills were good.
Well, they were decimated by injuries, and they even had more injuries last night as well, and that's something that we're starting to see here in the NFL. I mean, we talked about it yesterday with the 49ers, right? There's only so many injuries that you can deal with before, the second tier guy becomes the first team guy, and then the third team guy has to step up and become the second team guy. And then when you're not able to practice as a unit, like it just changes everything. And clearly last night against the Falcons, and let's acknowledge, by the way, that the Falcons took money before this game. We saw this spread go down, right? It closed at 3.5. It was at 4.5 like earlier in the week. So the Falcons were an attractive bet because of all the injuries that the Bills had been dealing with. And clearly the Bills missed the players that they didn't have on defense. It wasn't just Milano. It was the injuries in their secondary as well, and they had more injuries last night. But the inability to guard Drake London, who was the only player that Michael Penix was targeting on offense. This was a Falcons offense that did not have Darnell Mooney at wide receiver, that did not have Ray McLeod, and it was only Drake London. And if you go look at the box score from last night's game, there was only one wide receiver targeted in the game last night, Drake London. That's it. 10 catches, 158 yards, and a touchdown. The other targets went to the running backs, Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, and the tight end Kyle Pitts, who somehow did not cash our over 3.5 receptions. He only had 3 catches on 4 targets. But 16 targets to Drake London. You would think at some point the Buffalo Bills would say, maybe let's cover this guy and let somebody else beat us.
I mean, you only need a certain amount of pitches. Like, if you're going to run 32 times for 210 yards, that's the fastball I got to stop. That's going 102 miles per hour. I'm not going to guard Drake London like that, I think. I think the Bills have bigger problems than just they made a strategic mistake not guarding the one receiver.
Well,
they got gashed on the ground again.
Well, let's also acknowledge that 81 of those yards came on that one ridiculous run by Bijan
That's
Robinson.
the magic about 210, though. Because if you didn't get at 80, it'd be like, oh, good rushing game. Yeah. Really good rushing game from the Falcons again.
But Bijan
they got lucky, by the way, to only score 24. It should have been 31.
Yep.
By a toe at the line.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's going to happen. Like, you're going to have a bad defensive performance. The Bills weren't supposed to be this juggernaut. I think the bigger takeaway from this game is that offense 2 weeks in a row is nowhere close to what we saw week 1 against the Ravens, and maybe that was because the Ravens were not very good.
Well, despite the loss, James Cook does go over his rushing attempts prop that we talked about. He went over his rushing yardage prop. He had 17 carries for 87 yards. He did not find the end zone though last night, and not there was no receiving options. Like Khalil Shakir had 3 catches, and they were all short. Like his strength is certainly the yards after the catch. Dawson Knox caught a touchdown, but they were missing Dalton Kincaid last night, and there was no real other options. And Josh Allen didn't really have time. I thought that the Falcons defense did a good job of pressuring Allen, making him uncomfortable, forcing him to roll out, have those indecisive moments where he was rolling out to the sideline, and it's like, do I want to run? Do I want to throw? I'm just going to take a 1-yard loss here. Like, they made
he
him
goes over
uncomfortable
his
the
rushing
entire
prop,
life.
by the way.
What's that?
Out. He went over his rushing prop, which we gave out, over 34.
Yeah, he had 6 carries for 42 yards. So, yeah, this was good performance by the Falcons defense, bad performance by the Buffalo Bills all the way around. And now you said it before, like the Buffalo Bills in this division, the New England Patriots are in first place right now in the AFC East. Who would have thought that was going to be the case as we sit here on Tuesday, October 14th, that the New England Patriots are in first place in the division?
Plus 160. I remember watching before Sunday Night Football, DraftKings line. It was minus 1,800 on the Bills, like 20 to 1. Man, that was 10 days ago. Plus 160, the Patriots win the East. Bills minus 210 now.
It's just insane. The Bills, they need to get right. 2 straight losses here for the Bills. They will take on the Panthers coming up in
So is it just
weeks.
path, we think? Like that they're still the Super Bowl favorites?
Yeah, I
mean,
do.
also maybe nobody's good. Like none of the contenders, Chiefs, Bills, Eagles, like Ravens, top 4 favorites are not the top 4 teams right now. Bills are still in the mix, at least. They're still the Super Bowl favorites.
Yeah, I think seeing the Bills play these last 2 weeks, kind of makes me think like if it's Chiefs Bills in the playoffs, I'm not going to bet against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs right now. But there's still plenty of time. The Chiefs and Bills will play in a couple of weeks. This is an important time for the Bills now to use this bye week to not only get healthy, but to figure out the things that are going wrong for them. And I have faith that they will figure it out because we have seen the Buffalo Bills under Sean McDermott go through these stretches and then figure it out. Whether it was changing play callers, right? A couple of years ago, or
Last
whatever.
year,
whatever other tweaks they have to make, they've made those tweaks. So I do trust that they'll turn it around.
And maybe that's why they never win a Super Bowl, because they can't stick to their guns. But yeah, Joe Brady doesn't look like the next head coach of whatever team like he always was.
Yeah. Well, the other result last night was the Chicago Bears, giving the Trench Report the only loss of the week as they beat the Commanders 25-24. Oh, if only Jaden Daniels held on to the football. No, it didn't come down to that one play, but you can look at it and say, well, there's 3 minutes left in the game, and they're trying to run the clock out. And if they get a first down, and it's 3rd and 1 at the 40-yard line, the game is over. And
yeah, it was match point. There's a ton of plays like that in the NFL where it's like, this could be the game, and the announcers will say, this is the game, unless it's a first down, then there's a lot more game left.
Yeah. But there was, obviously the interception on the opening drive, the fumble on the second drive. Like the Commanders had 2 turnovers in their first 7 plays last night, or the first 8 plays last night.
It's the curse of FedEx, man. You just can't bet on the Commanders at FedEx.
But even still, Mackenzie, they wound up taking a 24-16 lead before a 31-yard kick return on the kickoff, the ensuing kickoff that gave them the short field, and then the DeAndre Swift 52-yard touchdown. So 2 big plays after the Commanders took a 24-16 lead. Next thing you know, it's 24-22, and then, of course, the fumble and the final field goal, 25-24. Did you come away from that game last night thinking, hey, this is Ben Johnson took the bye week, and this is now a Bears offense that is going to be dangerous here moving forward?
And they had an opportunity to have like a 90-yard pass with a dropped pass when they were down 24-22. Still ended up winning the game, got the ball back. I don't know. I think I was more impressed with Jaden Daniels this game. And I know it's more confirmation, but, after the pick early, 3 touchdowns, it felt like they were just shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
And they were just the better team. It was a matter of time. And then kind of the opposite of last year. It was a weird fourth quarter. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. The fumble's a part of the game. Like, practice that. I don't know. It was
Yeah.
kind of rainy. But yeah, just a bad moment.
Now, like when you look at the yards per play, like it's going to show you that the Bears were better, but the 3 turnovers, like that's the thing.
First
Like,
downs, Commanders were better. I don't know.
yeah, like that's the thing. Like I think when you look at this game, like this might be a faulty finish because it's I know like whatever turnovers tend to even themselves out, and you could talk about luck and whatever, but 3 turnovers in this game,
Yeah,
like
to
that's a
none.
big
Yeah.
difference. Like I feel like there were moments last night where the Commanders were clearly the better team, and
What this
it
does
happens.
do, though, is it gives the Bears like hope. Like, I still
Oh
think they're a
yeah,
bad team, but they're not going to be convinced of that at least for 3 more weeks. They probably beat the Saints next week in Soldiers Field. Then they're at the Ravens. They could be like contenders through Thanksgiving. So that's good for Chicago.
yeah. And Caleb Williams, 17 of 29 passing, 252 and a touchdown, but he had a 37.2 QBR. Took 3 sacks, so still not exactly a great performance here from Caleb Williams on the night. But hey, a big win for the Chicago Bears. They are now 3-2. They've won 3 straight games since dropping the first 2 games of the season, and now they'll face a Saints team next week. They could be 4-2 before they get
And very easily could have lost the last 2 games. Probably should have lost the last 2 games.
like file this under the strange but true. The last 2 wins for the Commanders by identical 25-24 scores. I don't know if that's ever happened in NFL history.
Wait, you're saying the last time the Bears beat the Commanders?
No, I'm saying the Bears beat the Raiders before the bye week, 25-24.
wow. On like a weird last second field goal, yeah.
Yeah, so like when was the last time that like a team their back-to-back wins? No, that was they had the touchdown run late in that game. But yeah,
That's a great trivia question for someone a little more autistic than me. Like, when was the last time someone scored the same amount and gave up the same amount twice in the last 2 weeks?
oh yeah, the blocked field goal against the Raiders. That's what it was.
We need Rain Man for that.
Yeah, I mean that's crazy. Like 25-24, 25-24.
I mean, maybe if it was like 7-0, if it was like the Steelers and a blizzard or something twice in a row.
Yeah.
Rarely would you get 25-24. I mean, that's just a weird score by itself.
Yeah, it's like it's like almost scoregami, but I don't know if it is, but just bizarre. Elsewhere in the NFL, yesterday the Tennessee Titans made a move that you and I expected to happen after the season, or maybe later on in the season, but they part ways with head coach Brian Callahan after a 4-19 tenure as their head coach, and they have given the reins over to former Charger head coach Mike McCoy, who takes over in
Mike
the interim.
McCoy back in the league.
Yeah, Mike. Well, he's been an offensive.
I mean,
assistant
back
to
as
them.
a head coach.
Back
'Cause
as
he
a
was a
head coach, yes.
multi-time head coach. He wasn't even just once, I think.
He was. Well, I remember him with the Chargers a couple of years ago when he got that job. Did he have another interim tag prior to that somewhere? What was he? Let's see.
I might be thinking of another Mike.
There's a lot of
Titans
Mikes.
Mike.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Mikes.
So, yeah, this was a move that you and I expected it to happen. We talked about it, how it's going to happen at the end of the season, or at some point during the end of this, towards the end of the season, and that's usually what happens. Is teams like this that need to make a change, they don't wait till the season's over. They'll usually fire the coach with a couple of weeks left in the season. And people say, oh, why don't they just let them finish out the season? Why you fire him in week 15 or week 14? It's because they get a head start on the coaching search.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is you're not going to be the only job that's available. And so by you starting to get the head start in doing your research and your prep and your due diligence in going out there and starting the coaching search, you're trying to get a leg up on the other teams that will be hiring the coach, that will be going after the same targets. Because what people don't understand is there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes when it comes to hiring a new coach. Like there's consultants out there that their sole job is to put together binders and research on potential head coaches. And so by firing a coach middle of the season, like you start that process. And so it's a little, it'll be easier for you when the time comes for you to hire that head coach. So
I think you also signal to the league that it's kind of a total rebuild. Like, you definitely put some pressure on the GM at that point.
Mm-hmm.
The earlier it is, the more fluid you are in how you want to grab everybody together. You think Belichick takes the Titans job, GM title, interim GM title? What do you think? It works?
I still can't see it. I still can't see it
Right,
because
damn.
I feel like
It was a good run.
I feel like from an ego standpoint, he can't leave North Carolina after 1 year. He just can't. He can't admit failure there.
Can North Carolina leave
Yeah,
him afterward?
that's a good point. That's a good point. The question that I have now, and that many bettors have now, is: do we think that the Tennessee Titans will get the dead cat bounce? Do
Yep.
they get the fired coach boost here as a 6.5-point home dog against their former coach Mike Vrabel and the New England Patriots?
It's done well, and it's a trend that's funny because depending on what article you look at, it'll be either very hot or pretty lukewarm. 6-3 ATS the last 9 since 2022. There's kind of been a lot of them. But going back farther than that, all the way to 2000, I did this today. 22-23, absolutely nothing to write home about. Maybe, I don't know, there's some split if you look at like resigned coaches versus fire. I don't know. I don't think it's much you can gain from a trend perspective, but I think you can look at the psychology, and it seems like it makes sense when they do win and when they do lose, just looking at the database of these games. But I don't know if there's enough angst with Tennessee. Like if it's late in the season and you're kind of like mad at your coach and certain players aren't getting the shine that they want to, I'm not sure if that's it. I think this team just sucks.
Yeah, well,
so I'm not sure if we get the dead cat bounce.
No, they're terrible. Well, I think what happens is every coaching change is a different situation. Sometimes there's, a coach will get fired where everybody expects the coach to get fired, and you'll see a defensive coach that the players love, that is the most popular guy in the locker room, takes over as the head coach, and the team fights for that player.
Antonio Pierce, by the way, who was this guy and had a big win by like 1 million points over his old team, the Giants, in his first game as the coach, had the exact same tenure, about, I think, 19 or 20 games as Callahan. Callahan, 4 ATS wins, 19 losses or something like that, maybe 5 and 18-1 or something. And Antonio Pierce was 67%, the greatest ATS coach of all time.
Yep.
But I mean, it's not like I was looking at it and I thought he was a great coach either. That team was moving in the right direction. But man, it's not. It's like, what could he have done to keep his job? Probably not enough.
Win games.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, in Vegas, you have to win. Cover for the boosters.
Yeah, but no, that's the thing though. So like, that's a perfect example. That's a situation where Antonio Pierce takes over as the interim, and the players fight for that guy. Are the players fighting for Mike McCoy here? Like and I don't say, and I'm not saying that this is because the other
offensive guy.
Exactly. The other aspect of this is like what happens with the Jets, like last year. Like the Jets fire Robert Saleh, and the players don't agree with it, and so you see the players then with a lackluster effort, with a fall off. Like the Jets defense went from being a top 5 defense under Saleh to then one of the bottom defenses in the league because the players reacted negatively. I don't think that this situation with the Titans falls into either category. I don't think that it was get the unpopular guy out of the locker room and now we're going to fight hard for the interim coach. And I don't think this is the, hey, we don't agree with this, now we're not going to play hard because we don't, you took our guy away from us. I just think, as you said, this team sucks.
Do they get up for New England? Is there any I want to beat the guy that used to coach?
No,
some of us, but most of us not, because we change over every year.
No, I think it's more for the Patriots. I think the Patriots players want to get the win for Vrabel. Plus, the Patriots now go into this game knowing that they're in first place and in control of their own destiny. So
it's an interesting PR decision. It's like we know there's going to be a story about Callahan versus Vrabel.
Yep.
We don't want that side by side.
Nope.
Let's just move on.
Nope.
Mike McCoy, get over here.
Yeah. Before the game, they do like a video tribute, and it's like,
right.
We're sorry.
What could have been? Come back later.
Yeah. All right, let's talk Major League Baseball.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgranger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Major League Baseball last night, the Seattle Mariners crushed the Toronto Blue Jays 10-3 to take a 2-0 series lead in the American League Championship Series. They scored 3 runs in the top of the first inning on a Julio Rodriguez home run, but credit Toronto for battling back and eventually tying the game in the bottom of the second. And then Jorge Polanco, who's having one of the great postseason runs that we've seen in recent history, homers to give them a 6-3 lead. Mariners add a bunch of insurance runs. They take the 10-3 win and now take a 2-0 series lead, with the series going to Seattle for game number 3. The question I will ask you, Mackenzie Rivers, is this series over?
Has the home team won yet? What is it? How does it go? I think it's over. I think that when the road team wins twice in a row, going to a place like Seattle, I guess Toronto's similar weather-wise. I'm not sure if that matters. But, they're going to get one of these next 2 games. It's going to be really hard for the Blue Jays to win 4 out of 5.
Exactly, especially in the 2-3-2 format, right? So the next 3 games are going to be in Seattle. You're telling me Seattle's not going to win 2 of these games? I think this series is
5
over.
games written all over it.
Yeah, this series is done. It feels like the Blue Jays won their World Series, eliminated the Yankees, and that's about it. Like now, this is a Mariners team.
Because all year was like, this team's no good. Look at their run differential, and they weren't any good, but they were better than the Yankees.
Yep. Like
and
how fun is it now to look back, or how much fun is Vladdy having looking back at that moment with Big Papi on the post game going, the Yankees lose, the Yankees lose. Well, guess what, bro? You're about to get swept by the Seattle Mariners.
4.
How about that?
That's a good
the other game last night, game 1 of the National League Championship Series, Dodgers with a 2-1 victory over the Brewers as Blake Snell makes history. What a gem of a performance. This guy, like, when you start to think about, like, what Snell has accomplished over, like, the past couple of years, his incredible second half that led to the Cy Young a couple of years ago, and just the way that he
he pitched 13 innings in the bubble to win the championship.
This might be, like, he might be one
they took him out.
One of the top pitchers that we, in the past several years. Like, he's putting together a Hall of Fame resume right now.
Absolutely. Look at his freaking playoff record.
Yep.
Under 3 ERA.
Mm-hmm. He allowed 1 base runner in 8 shutout innings last night. He struck out 10 and walked none. And I think that he became like the first player in baseball history to accomplish those numbers. Like a historic performance here for Blake Snell. It's unbelievable, like unbelievable. And I will say, last night, Dave Roberts made an absolutely stupid decision. The Dodgers won the game, and they should be thankful. And am I bitter because the Dodgers teased me with the minus 1.5 and scoring a run in the top of the 9th inning? Yes, they teased me because they took a 2-0 lead into the bottom of the 9th. That second run, though, and we do have to talk about the historic double play that was turned earlier in the game too, but that second run affords you the opportunity to bring Blake Snell out for the 9th inning. I understand that he threw 103 pitches, but he is absolutely dominating this team. And yes, Roki Sasaki has been tremendous as your new closer. And if it was still a 1-0 game, I bring Sasaki in 100 times out of 100. But when you score that second run, and now you're up 2-0 going into the bottom of the 9th inning, that affords you the opportunity to put Snell back out there. And guess what? If he gives up a solo home run to the first guy, you take him out. If he walks the first guy, you take him out. If he gives up a double to the first guy, you take him out. But you have that cushion now because you got that insurance run. If it was still 1-0, I don't disagree. 100%. You bring in your closer. You bring in Sasaki. But by scoring that second run, I thought Dave Roberts had an opportunity there to bring Snell back out and see if he can finish it off because the Brewers were unable to touch him. And what happens is Sasaki gives up a hit, the next thing you know, the Brewers score a run. You got to bring in Blake Treinen. The bases are loaded, and Treinen gets Bryce Turang to strike out to end the game with the bases loaded. After a pitch, by the way, where Turang jumps out of the way, he would have gotten hit by the pitch and walked in the game-tying run. But listen, it's a reactionary thing. You're standing in that batter's box. That pitch is coming towards you. You jump out of the way. It just
when they say every cell of your body's got to want it or whatever.
Yeah, it was a reaction. But I mean, man, he's probably thinking,
but if he really wanted it, would he have not just took one for the team there? I
mean, he's probably thinking, man, if I just stood here, I would have gotten drilled in the leg, and we would have tied the game. What a disaster! Not a disaster, but what a painful way to lose. But also historic in this game. I mean, we talk about the Dodgers, teasing me by scoring the run in the top of the ninth to make it 2-0, and I'm thinking that they're going to cover the 1.5. They should have had so many more runs in this game. Bases loaded, Mackenzie, with 1 out earlier in the game, and the Dodgers hit into the first ever 8-6-2 double play in baseball postseason history. 4th inning, this is with a moment here, Max Muncy hits a deep fly ball that Brewers outfielder Sal Frelick jumped up to essentially rob a home run.
Did he hit it off the top there?
Yes. It hit off of his glove, then off the wall, then back into his glove.
That's a catch?
No.
Okay.
It wasn't a catch.
All right. Never mind. Let me back up here.
Here's what happened. And by the way, the fact that Major League Baseball players are so bad at base running is just it boggles my mind. But anyway, this was a couple of feet away from being a grand slam. Instead of being a grand slam, it goes off of Frelick's glove, off the wall, then back into his glove. So the Dodgers players are confused. Teoscar Hernandez, who was on third, was off the bag, went back to the bag to re-tag up, and then is running home, right? And he gets out at home because it's a force play at the plate. So Frelick, the number 8, the center fielder, throws to the shortstop, number 6, who throws to the catcher, right, to get the out. Now, that is the first out, okay? But then the catcher runs to third base to get the force out at third because the players all retreated to their bags thinking that the ball was caught. This was just absolutely terrible.
This isn't a double play. This is like an error of base running. First of all, shouldn't someone just like have a flag out and say it wasn't? Like, just get the procedure right. It wasn't an out. Walk to home base. Like, why are we doing this?
This was so bad. Like, here's what has to happen. Okay, this is what Major League Baseball players don't know.
Like a green light run or something.
This is the thing. Teoscar Hernandez made the big mistake here, right? Because he initially went to tag up. Once the ball hit the glove, right, he runs, but he sees it pop up in the air. And then when he sees Frelick catch it again, he runs back to the bag to re-tag.
I might too. It looked like a catch, kind of.
It doesn't matter, Mackenzie. The rule is you are allowed to tag up and leave on the first touch. So if an outfielder bobbles the ball, okay, like let's say an outfielder dives, it hits off his glove, it pops up in the air, and then they catch it. That first contact, that first touch with their glove, that's the moment you can leave and tag up. You don't have to then, go back to the bag and re-tag after the bobble. And it's not, and they can't like go to pick you off at third and say, oh no, it's you left early. No, you didn't leave early. You're allowed to leave on the first touch. So if you know that as a Major League Baseball player, you tag up originally, and then he just walks home and scores scores a run.
Not going to be thrown out from that.
And then for every other player to like be confused and like run back to their bases because they think.
Isn't there a base coach for this exact reason? What does he do?
Just absolutely.
How does he earn his paycheck?
Just absolutely bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. So let's play another one tonight.
So what a bad beat, losing -1.5 for a million reasons.
Yeah.
And then you still could have won it 2-0.
I know. Game 2 tonight, it is Yamamoto on the mound. Freddie Peralta goes for the Brewers. Dodgers are a -130 favorite. There was several day hockey games yesterday that I had to let people know on Twitter that the NHL didn't schedule day games because of Columbus Day. Okay. Like it was Canadian Thanksgiving. So in Canada, they celebrate Thanksgiving.
Yesterday was Columbus Day? Wow.
In Canada, they celebrate Thanksgiving on the second Monday of October, right? Which is the same day that we have Columbus Day, right? Or Indigenous Peoples Day, whatever it's called. So the NHL, obviously, appealing to its Canadian audience, plays day games on Canadian Thanksgiving. So you had a bunch of Canadian teams in action yesterday during the day. The Senators, the Jets, the Maple Leafs, right?
You wake up, you milk your moose, chop up some ice,
Here's
watch hockey.
This is what I don't understand, though. Like, isn't every day in Canada Thanksgiving? Like, don't they just walk around going,
right?
"Oh, thank
isn't
you"?
Turkey a very common,
No,
let's all gather around?
But don't they say thank you? Aren't they polite for everything? Like, don't you just say,
Exactly.
"Oh, thank you very much"? Yeah.
Canada, or it's Thanksgiving every day. That's
Exactly. But we have an opportunity here to play some system plays tonight here in the NHL. First one being that Rangers first period over and goal in first 10 that we talked about yesterday. Rangers were 3-1 to this trend last year. They're 0-1 to the trend so far this year, but it's been a historical trend going back a couple of years now where after a team gets shut out, they go over in the first period of their following game, and there's usually an early goal scored. So goal in the first 10 and over 1.5 goals in the first period for the Rangers and the Oilers tonight. And then the other system that I'm going to be playing is the Maple Leafs at home here tonight. Yes, both teams are on the second of a back-to-back with the Predators having played in Ottawa last night, but the Maple Leafs were home, so I obviously like the home team on the second of a back-to-back. Plus, there's that trend that we talked about with the Golden Knights. With Toronto, it is just as strong. Teams playing in Toronto on the second night of a back-to-back. If you want to go back to the start of the 2021 season, 5-24 straight up. These teams playing in Toronto on the second night of a back-to-back. 19-10 on the puck line, so they're covering the puck line. But I think I might actually take a shot, though, on the puck line just because I'm going to go for a plus money chase here. And I don't want to lay minus 220 on the Maple Leafs. It's a heavy price to lay. So
wait, you're saying they've won 5 out of 29 times straight up?
Yeah.
But they cover the puck line way more times than not? That's not even possible.
It's only 1-goal games.
It's a lot of 1-goal games.
It's a lot of 1-goal games. But I'm going to lay it here with the Maple Leafs tonight because you know something.
Not going to be no 1-goal game.
Because you know something, Mackenzie. The city needs a winner. Okay, the Blue Jays have let them down.
Yep.
And the city needs a winner. And that's where the day after Canadian Thanksgiving, the Maple Leafs say, you know something? We're going to give thanks to you. And we are going to win by two or more goals. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you. You're welcome. Don't forget, the Trench Report will come out tomorrow for week number 7. We'll get all the data today, and so we'll update all the numbers and give you the Trench Report for week number 7 in the NFL. Your 2-week results: 4-1 straight up in week number 5, 4-1 straight up in week number 6. It was 4-1 ATS in week number 5, and 2-3 ATS, though, in week number 6. I had somebody hit me up on Twitter and say the Trend Report doesn't factor in the spreads. Yeah, obviously. Of course it doesn't factor in the spreads. What the Trend Report does, and this is where I hope you guys get value out of this, is it's a way of pointing out a mismatch in the game where it goes normally overlooked. And so it is a way for me to determine the winners of these games, and that would be straight up. So far it's working, 8-2 straight up in the last 2 weeks, right? But even if it was 6-1 2 weeks prior. So we're looking at a great straight up trend here. And the idea is find value in the point spreads where we can. Obviously, if an underdog is identified, that's great. We're going to take the points. But if a favorite's identified, let's see how many points we want to lay with these favorites, what we want to do, how we want to play it. Obviously, it didn't work out with the favorites in the Packers and the Broncos covering the spreads, and the Washington Commanders lost outright. But the Patriots covered, right, and so and the Rams covered. So there's things that it's definitely going to identify mismatches, and it's just up to us to figure out which point spreads we find value in, or if there's other ways to play it. Maybe there's money line parlays. Maybe we look at a teaser. I was looking at the numbers, if we did the 6-point teaser, Like if you did 6 points on every single one of the games, I think you're 8-2. Because I think the only losses would be the 2 outright losses by the favorites in the Commanders. But actually, no, the Commanders lost by 1. So they would have covered if you crossed 0 on a 6-point teaser. So
9-1.
So really, you'd be 9-1 on the 6-point teaser, which is crazy. I'm not saying that we be doing that, but I was curious to look at those numbers. Anyway,
I think it's valuable information. There's different ways to handicap. I think if you're looking at one number that says this is how good an NFL team, it's very hard to make any use out of that. You don't know, oh, are they still this good? It's been a couple weeks. But if you break it up into component parts and you say, well, this team's a favorite because of reputation, or this team's a favorite because they're supposed to dominate this matchup that I like, that I agree with, that I could see with my mind's eye, then yeah, it helps you isolate some winners.
There you have it. Follow Mackenzie on Twitter at Mackin Rivers. You can follow me at Scott's On Air. And here's hoping you make today and every day a better day.